are not Liz.
I'm not Liz.
But I am Lisa, and this is the Why So Curious podcast. So welcome, everybody. I have a very special guest this morning, and Liz is on a much-deserved vacation, and so I'm just so thankful to have Brianna here with me today.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, so what we're going to do, and again, Sophie is here, and she's going to make herself known throughout the day. So the Why So Curious podcast is a podcast where we are just committed to speaking truth, right? Just digging, peeling back all the layers of the onion so that we can get to where we're walking in triumph and not in our trauma anymore, right?
Absolutely.
And so I just kind of want to actually start right away with recognizing some of our sponsors. First off is Power Over Predators. And Power Over Predators is a curriculum, it's a tool that parents can use, that educators can use, anybody that works with kids can use. The intention is to end child abuse and exploitation with prevention, because prevention stops something before it starts. So it seems like it's a big duh that we would offer it in every school.
It's the front lines.
But we don't offer it in every school. And so we're going to talk about that. So I just want to say thank you to Power Over Predators for being a sponsor. And then the next sponsor is MACE, which is Mothers Against Child Exploitation, which you're familiar with as well. And so we're going to talk about these two organizations today and the impact that they're making, and then how you can get involved. And so that's why I invited Brianna on as my guest today. So when did we actually meet?
It was pre-COVID. I think it was like March of 2019.
Yeah, I
think that's when it was. And it doesn't seem like that much time has gone by, but
a lot's happened.
Yeah, and I don't know if we actually met then, but it's whenever I found Power Over Predators and did the training, and shortly after I met you.
Yeah.
And just got going from there.
Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit more, but I'm interested in hearing from you, like, how did you find us, and then what drew you to follow up and get involved?
Okay. Well, first of all, you guys should know that I'm a basketball coach, so if my voice comes and goes, that's what it is. It's just like the chronic throat thing.
Yeah.
January and February. But yeah, okay, so I found Power Over Predators, and the reason I was even looking for Power Over Predators was because I have 4 children, and 2 of my daughters at the time were in middle school, and there were some things that happened that I was not prepared for. I was totally blindsided, and I probably prided myself in being like very connected to my kids and knowing what was going on in their lives, so it was definitely kind of a bomb that got dropped in my lap that I was not expecting. And so I kind of went on this mission to find something that brought like internet safety awareness to my home and to also our school. And through a friend, I was telling her, like, I'm going to start a movement. I'm going to start this like internet safety awareness movement. And she lived up here in Tucson, and she told me, you need to hear about Power Over Predators. And I had never heard of it. I had never heard of Sold No More. So I immediately get online, look into it. I find out that at the time you could get like a presenter to come and share this information. And I don't think I ended up doing that. I think I just went right into the training with Power Over Predator. It was like a week-long thing. It took me about a week anyways with my busy life. And it was a hard week because I had no idea what I was getting into. I had no idea what was happening around us, like right under our noses, right in front of us. So it was a hard week. Not only did I have to hear like these stories, like Aaron Marin's story and such, I had to like kind of dig into some things, weird things that happened in my childhood. And so like to bring all those things up, it was hard. But I just immediately saw how necessary it was. As soon as I started kind of sharing these things with people, I started hearing stories from people that I've known for a long time. And we never talked about stuff. And I call it weird stuff that happened, in your childhood. And so that's kind of how I got started with Power Over Predators. And I've just been very adamant from then on to get this information out to kids and to parents. And I've done that through an avenue through churches, even like home meetings, and then also through our school.
Awesome. So today is What the F Wednesday,
Yeah.
right? Where we're going to talk about some things that kind of make me absolutely crazy, and I know that it makes you absolutely crazy, and you're just like, what the fried chicken?
Yes.
Why is this happening, and what are we going to do about it, and how can we stop this? And so you could fit into any day that we do this podcast with the stuff that you do and in your heart, and the fact that you're a serious mother fighter, and you are a mama bear, and you are a champion for kids. And so I think that I would love, so first of all, what was the experience, if you don't mind sharing, that you had with your daughters in middle school that kind of launched you into this mission?
Okay, so it was a couple of different things that all happened and kind of just came out into the light at the very same time, and I don't really remember the order of them. But my oldest daughter had seen, and maybe she was even a freshman by the time this came out, but my oldest daughter had seen like a nude photo of one of her friends on someone else's device. They just like flashed it to her. And she wasn't ready to see that. She was horrified by it.
Is anybody ready to see their classmates' junk?
Right.
No.
Right.
No,
And so
we are not prepared for that.
but the biggest thing was in a couple of these stories I'm going to tell you, they didn't tell me. She didn't tell me. She didn't report it back, and she didn't have a plan. And so that happened. My younger daughter was in middle school, and there was a group of girls in her classroom huddled around a Chromebook. Mind you, this is a school-owned device.
Right.
And they were just giggling. And so naturally, my daughter goes over there to see what it is, and it's a picture of a boy's private parts. And so she's horrified, right? Doesn't tell her mom. Didn't tell her mom. So something happened on the softball team where there was an older student that had actually already been turned 18 years old, helping with the middle school team. And she, Grace, my daughter Grace was a catcher. Well, this student was a pitcher. So she's in the bullpen with the pitcher and the catcher, one being my daughter, who's the catcher. And she starts talking about having, inappropriate contact with her boyfriend in a movie theater. And Grace told me about this. She brought it to me. Like, this concerned her. She didn't like it. Well, because she finally comes and talks to me about this. All these other things popped up after that.
Oh, okay.
And I was just like, why have you guys never told me these things? So it kind of got to a thing with my daughters where when I picked them up after school, I'd be like, did anything weird happen today? Like, do you have anything to report? Like, what we got to talk about? Well, I said, how come you didn't tell me at the time? They said, well, I forgot. Like, by the time I got home, I just didn't think about it. I said, okay, well, next time you ask to go to the office and call your mom, and you don't have to say anything to me except, Mom, when I get home today, I have to tell you something. And I tell them, I will not forget. I will remember when I pick you up that you have to tell me something. And so really the change that it made in our life was just a dialogue, talking, knowing like, hey, that was weird. I'm going to talk to my mom about it.
Yeah.
That was a huge change for us. And there were some other things actually in our community that happened that were surrounding like child pornography, and then the abuse of a girl by her stepdad for 10 years, like that had come out. And it just was this explosion in our life of reality, and that we had to start to get to know our surroundings.
So tell people about your community.
Okay, so I live in Benson, Arizona. It's with the surrounding area, it's like 10,000 people. It's pretty small and pretty rural, agricultural.
Beautiful.
It's
Such
really
a pretty
nice place to
location.
live. We love it. And we have one school. It's kinder through 12th on basically the same piece of property. It's like different campuses separated, but all very close. I would say that it's a pretty good school. Like we have really great leadership. We've got a lot of really fantastic teachers and coaches. And so I participate quite a bit through my church, First Baptist Church. I'm very involved there. In fact, every single thing that I do is faith-based ultimately. And then I'm very involved on our campus, and it's just like this really awesome place. I lived other places throughout my life. I actually didn't grow up in Benson. My parents had, but I didn't move back till I was a sophomore in high school. And I've also lived like out by myself as an adult. I mean, it felt like I was by myself. So being in Benson and having this opportunity where we like know everybody, we know grandparents, we know parents. My kids are always like, how do you know them? I'm like, I went to school with them, and your grandparents went to school with their grandparents. Like, it's pretty awesome. It's a pretty awesome community. But just like anywhere else, we've got big problems.
Right.
We've got big problems with the internet. We've got big problems with lack of awareness, lack of dialogue, lack of, I don't want to paint my community in a bad light, but we do have a lack of trusted adults. And it's not that they're not trustworthy, but they're not putting themselves out there as like, hey, I'm trustworthy.
Right.
Let me help you in your life.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us just get really caught up in our own lives and and I found like with these teenagers, if you do not make the effort,
Right.
they're not going to come to you.
Right. So yeah, I kind of wanted to just like reiterate what you've been saying this whole time is that you live in this wonderful little rural community where nothing bad ever happens, but a lot of bad is happening. It's just right under our noses and nobody's talking about it.
Absolutely.
And so that's been my passion, is just have to have the conversation, and we're the adults, we're the ones that have to set the platform and make the effort to give our kids the opportunity to find a trustworthy adult that they can talk to. Otherwise, that stuff happens to them. They stay stuck. They're ashamed, and they don't know why they're ashamed, but that's what they're feeling. And then they're also afraid. They'll just shut down, and they aren't going to talk to anybody about it because they don't know if they're going to get in trouble. They don't know if mom's going to freak out and take away their phone, or dad's going to take away, whatever it is. They're afraid of getting in trouble for something that happens to them.
Well, and their only education is usually from their abuser.
Exactly. And unfortunately, because they're living so much life on their phones, they're getting a lot of the information from the internet too. And they're getting a lot of information from social media, like from the influencers. And you're like, what? How are you influencing my kids, right? Like who is an influencer out there that I would trust to educate my child? I haven't met one yet. I'm sure there's some great ones, but it's like, we have to be the ones, like you said, making the effort to have these conversations with our kids. So you've done this amazing job. You set the foundation at your home, right? So now your girls know, because the goal of a parent or a trustworthy adult is to be the person that the child will come to first.
Right.
Right.
Soundboard.
Not your friends, although it's a great opportunity to go to your friends, but sometimes your friends don't know how to handle or sometimes your friends might be the influence that you don't want them to have, right? And so if we are not laying the foundation to where I am a trustworthy person that you can come to, and I promise I'm not going to freak out. I promise I'm just going to listen. I'm going to be a really good listener. And then if there's a problem that we have to solve, we'll go there next, right? But so you've got your foundation at home, but how many hours a day are your kids at school?
Yeah, 8 hours. And that's if they're not an athlete.
Right.
Like, the athletes are gone sometimes. My girls will be gone for 10 to 12 hours a day, depending on a game or a travel, an away game or whatever. And so it is scary. It is scary to think like I'm sending my child off for 10 to 12 hours a day sometimes, at least 8. But I will tell you this, even as much as I know now and all the stories I've heard and all of the documentaries I've tortured myself with, I'm not scared of the world.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
And I don't want my kids to be scared of the world.
Right.
we did get in a tricky situation once before COVID when we were forced to homeschool, where I did bring one of my girls home to be with me, and it was a 6-month thing. And it was this problem of being influenced rather than being the influencer. And when she went back strong. She knew who she was. She believed, what we were telling her rather than what some of the other influences were telling her. And I just learned right then, like, I'm not scared of the world. I'm not scared to send my kids, who I believe are the light, into the darkness. I'm just not.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a rare thing.
Right.
And so I think it's so important that we're laying the foundation at home, but we do give our kids over for 10 hours a day sometimes, right? Even more. Sometimes they go off on a bus and they're gone for an entire weekend, right? And it's like, my question always needs to be then, okay, school, okay, coaches, I am trusting you with my child, and I would like to know what your protocol is. What are you doing to shore up my kids so that they're going to be safe under your care? And then what's the protocol if something like this happens? Let's say pictures are being passed around on the bus because somebody posted something, or somebody shared an intimate picture of a child with another, which we could go into all the definitions, but point blank, if somebody has a picture of a kid on their phone, if they're under 18, they're in possession of child pornography. Let that sink in a little bit, because that's one of those things where this is such a normal behavior. Like, common. There you go. That's even scarier, actually.
Common, but it's not normal.
You're right. They say it's normal.
Right.
But you're right.
That's what I always have to tell them. No, this is not normal. This is common.
Yeah.
This is not normal.
Not normal. And so that's a really good word differentiation, where you're giving words the power that they need to have. And so how common it is that by the time our kids are 14, 1 in 4 have either sent or received a nude photo of themselves or their peers. So, okay, you're a parent and you're like, that's not going to be my kid. Talk to them. It is your kid. Maybe they're not participating in it, but like your kids weren't participating in it, but they got exposed to it the same way. They're exposed to it,
and they know about it if they're not involved in it. Absolutely.
Right. And then so I think, well, what I'm really passionate about, and part of the content and the curriculum that we present, is actually talking about shame and helping kids understand the difference between being convicted of doing something wrong where you're sorry for doing it versus being ashamed for something that you had nothing to do with. And we talk about the shame cycle, and we teach kids how to identify if they're stuck in that cycle, because you feel powerless, you don't like who you are, and then you start isolating and you feel very alone, and then you go back to feeling powerless and isolated and alone, and it just keeps going. And so when we can help kids recognize that is not your shame to carry, right? You can step out of that. We have seen, like, when we're talking to 7th graders, they're like, I was stuck in the shame cycle and I don't have to be there anymore, right? And it's so awesome to watch the light bulb go off.
Absolutely.
Which it's crazy to me that we have to be in our 40s and hear from Brene Brown what shame is all about, when we can start talking to our kids about shame as little as 2 years old, right? And helping them see that's not your burden to carry. And so how do you communicate to your girls, like, because that's how you become the trusted adult. You have nothing to be ashamed of. I'm just going to listen.
There's literally nothing.
Right.
There's literally nothing. You can tell. This is what's really funny. My girls give me a hard time because I'm a little bit OCD, and I'm just like obsessed with like keeping our house in order and stuff. And they tease me because they have this whole thing that they do impersonating me, and they're like, there's one sock on the floor. Whose sock is that? And it's not, it's accurate, okay? But they're like, Mom, how come you like freak out about these things that don't matter, but then whenever we come to you with something hard, you're just like cool as a cucumber? I'm like, it's different compartments in my brain. Like, I don't know, it's just different because I think all these little small things are tedious and monotonous and it's annoying and all these, but I'm like, but I have never failed one time whenever they brought me something that we really had to dissect or discuss. And I'm so thankful for that, because I don't think I've done anything right. It's like the grace of God giving me the wisdom to be like, okay, this is serious. I need to be solid right now. And they will just like tell me whatever. There are things like I think this is a big thing, like just being able to stand around with your kids and talk about random stuff. Like they'll talk about who's hot at school, who's not, who did this, I would have never, and not that my mom was an awesome mom, but I just would have never talked to her about who I thought was hot in school. So I don't really know what the difference is, but I make it a priority to talk to them about stuff that it doesn't matter. Maybe sometimes like in the car and they just won't shut up. It's kind of annoying, but I do it anyways. I just sit there and I listen and I engage and I do it on purpose, because then whenever things are tough, they know, oh no, we can talk to my mom about this, like 100%.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I would just say make it a priority with the small stuff, and then the big stuff, they'll know that they can trust you with it.
Yeah.
And do not freak out about stuff.
Right.
There have been some things that were said that I'm just like, are you kidding me? Wow, like we really need to like process that and think about it before we really dissect it. But never one time have I come out with any kind of like judgment or shame of any type. It's just like, yeah, this is a real person with a real problem, and let's think of a real solution.
Because there always is a real solution.
There totally is.
There really is. And I think that's kind of going to, as you've been sharing, I had another question pop up in my head that you kind of set me up for it by that comment is, we overthink everything. We feel ill-equipped. We feel like all of this is too big. And if we have our own stuff that we haven't processed, it's what our kids are experiencing can be raised up in us. And, like I shared, if something that somebody shares with you feels like too big to process, check that, because that's what's happening in you. Those are your emotions, which are completely valid. I'm not saying that they're not valid, but when you have somebody disclosing, sharing, confiding, trusting in you with a hard topic, you've got to put that stuff away, be a good listener, and then even, your facial expression can tell you everything, right? Because I just remember one time with my 3 boys, my face was just like, and they're like, yeah, we're not telling you anything anymore. And I didn't even have to say anything. And I said, okay, wait, can we do a rewind? I'm sorry. I recognize that I overreacted, even just in my expression. I'm like, but are you guys okay with me just saying that surprised me? And I'm sorry and I'm like, can we have a do-over? And they're like, yeah. It's that easy. I mean, otherwise I could have said, fine, don't ever tell me anything again. Like jerks. It's like there's always a solution. But what would you say to the parent, the teacher, the people that work with youth? This problem is too big. What would you say?
So I like to always just bring it back to the kid. This is about the kid.
Right.
This is about the kid. And right now I have a girl that's confided in me so much, and just like she knows that I love her. She also knows I don't have all the answers. But I always can, if I feel like this is too big, I'm like, how do I just love them right now? How do I meet them where they are and help them unpack this, no matter how overwhelming it is?
Right.
It's about the kid. This is about the kid. Every single thing I do, sometimes and I know that you've even felt this before, where you just get so overwhelmed and discouraged even. And it's like, why do I even do what I do? Yeah. I can always go back to, I do it for the kids. Yeah. This is for this kid. And sometimes it's overwhelming as well, like the starfish story with, the person on the beach that's throwing one starfish at a time, and there's millions, and they're like, you're not going to make any difference. Well, I did for that one. I did for that one. I have to like just minimize it down to that sometimes, because I know for a fact that if we just meet them here, if we just love them without any condition, without any judgment, it will make a difference. It oozes out of you, and when that's your true heart.
Right.
It oozes out of you, and they see it.
Yeah.
They don't need every single answer.
Right.
They just need to be loved and accepted and met where they are.
Yeah.
And if we can just take it down to a really small scale of that, there's this one child before you that needs help. Meet them there. Love them. Accept them. You don't have to have all the answers.
Right.
You don't need to be able to dissect their brain and the trauma that happened to them and how this behavior is coming from this. You don't have to do that.
Right.
Today, just love them, accept them, and meet them where they are without judgment.
Yep. Yeah, it really is that easy. And at the same time, I know that I'm probably speaking to some of you who do have your own stuff, and this just does feel too big. It does feel too overwhelming. And, I just hope that it's okay, Sophie. She's feeling all of our emotions right now. I just want to encourage everybody that that's why we're having these conversations, because you might learn something that for yourself that's going to be really helpful, that that maybe nobody else has ever told you before. And so, and it's been sweet because I've been getting a lot of really neat feedback from people who are like, I went through this almost the exact same thing that you went through, and I'm still processing and I'm still learning and I'm still figuring out how to step into my own story. But I just really appreciate you having this conversation, which, like I said, if you guys can learn from my mistakes, from your mistakes, from Liz's mistakes, from just our lives being out there as we're in this together. And you know what, ironically, more of us than not have actually been abused. Mm-hmm. But the resounding overarching theme is I'm alone and nobody is going to know that. And I don't want anybody to know, because I don't want that to be known out there. But I listen to and follow this interpersonal neurobiologist. His name is Dr. Kurt Thompson. I highly recommend you checking out his website and you reading his books and following him on his podcast, the Being Known podcast. Yes, I'm promoting another podcast on my own podcast because I have learned so much from him, and he is super tangible and super practical. But the cool thing is 10 years ago when I wrote the POP curriculum, which continues to morph, I miraculously included a lot of the key things that he says that you need to include to have effective communication. Mm-hmm. So what I think is really interesting is that relationships are 100% of everything we do.
Mm-hmm. Our lives are centered around it.
That's all it is, unless you live on a deserted island and you talk to nobody. Mm-hmm. Then you aren't going to be listening to this podcast anyway, so you wouldn't know, right? And so, but what the fried chicken, why do we not learn relationship development in school? Mm. Why don't we process that? Huge. Why don't we teach kids, and most of us are learning in our 40s, had I known that, things would be so different, right? And so relationships are key to everything that we do. And the minute that we come into this earth, I'm quoting Kurt here, we have, and he's probably quoting somebody else, but we have this immediate need to be seen, soothed, safe, and secure. Yeah. So as a parent, all our kids need from us is to be present and attuned to them.
Absolutely.
And our babies, they've done brain research that our babies can tell. Littles, we're talking infants, 6, 7, 8-month-olds, can pick up when mom's or dad's attention is not on them. Even if they're in the room, they can sense when they are not being attuned to that child, because maybe you're watching television or maybe you're looking on your phone, and there's no guilt or shame in that. But the point is that all kids and us now, grown kids, really need is somebody to pay attention to us, Absolutely. Be in the room with us, and not go anywhere when we tell them something, which is, I just kept starting to feel guilty as a mother, because I look at any kid that I talk to as my own child, because nobody's kid is better than mine, and so any one of those babies could be my baby. And so it's like, I can immediately go, I love you, and I'm here for you. And like you said, when it's genuine, the kids pick up on it, and they will tell you their life story, and you don't even know them, but they have this sense of, this person sees me, I am safe with this person, I am secure with this person.
Which is kind of scary because of the friendship cake, right?
Yes.
I talk about that a lot. I'm like, look, I can tell you right now that I am a trusted adult, but you don't know me.
Right.
Let's talk about the levels of the friendship cake.
Exactly.
Who do you have in this level in your life that is a trusted adult, that is maybe someone on campus, maybe a teacher? So I'm careful about that. But they are so groomed to be loved and accepted.
I know.
And that's what's scary, because predators prey upon that. But I've noticed, like, when I'm on campus, I try really hard to remember names. And so I will immediately, I look them in the eyes, which is not always the normal thing for them. They think it's weird. So I look them in the eyes, ask them their name, give them a fist bump or high five or whatever. And the next time I remember their name, I say, hi, how are you? They're like, she is so weird. Literally by the third interaction, they're like, Brianna, hi, hugs. Yep. And I'm like, that is so scary. Yeah. That scares me, because they are so groomed to be loved and accepted.
Well, but they're also dying for it.
That's what I'm saying.
So hungry.
We have to meet them and give them what they need, but if they do not get the prevention education that they need, they are so primed for a predator to groom them.
Right, because they're going to fall right into their lap. It's like, it's not going to, it doesn't, the research today is showing that predators don't even really take the time to groom certain age groups of kids. They will just flat out come right out so boldly and see what the result is going to be, see if they can catch that fish. I always just kind of give it the analogy of, the predator is just throwing out lines to see which fish is going to bite.
And the ones that don't, that's fine. Oh, moving on.
Right.
And there's no consequence, because most of it's online and stuff, right?
Yep.
So there's no consequence. There is no shame in them not catching on this line. They can catch on another line.
Yeah. And they don't care. They're just waiting to see who's going to catch. Yeah. And but again, so now that we know that, because we're human beings and because we have this need, an actual physical need for our brain to function well, to be seen, soothed, safe, secure, loved without conditions, now you can understand the mindset of a child and why, because so many parents are like, why do they spend so much time online? I'm like, because their needs are being met, not in an honest and healthy way, but they're desperately longing to be seen. If they're not met
in a healthy way, they will go find another way.
Yes. And let's be honest, our kids are going to still, even if they are being loved unconditionally at home, and they're still going to go look for it somewhere else. I mean, they're progressing, they're learning.
And what's normal?
Right.
What's normal among their peers?
Exactly.
They're going to want to fit in.
Yeah.
That's also normal, wanting to fit in with your peers.
Yes.
So they're going to go look for it somewhere else if we don't give them what they need.
Right. And then we always have to just be there, again, be the sounding board. If they do come back to us and confide something, that like, okay, so this is what happened, and you're like, okay, thanks for letting me know. Thanks for trusting me. Thanks for telling me. Are you safe? Do you need anything? Or I'll just be here for you. We don't have to overthink anything. And I'm going to say that over and over and over again.
It's actually super simple.
It really is. And I just think the world makes it really confusing, and we feel like we have to be some expert, and we just have to be attuned to our kids. And that's Sophie's agreeing with us on that. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Hey everybody, I just want to take a second here to acknowledge a couple of our sponsors. First, I want to acknowledge the organization called Power Over Predators. I do happen to be the founder and executive director, the CEO, whatever you want to call me, but Power Over Predators is a program, it's a tool, it's curriculum, it's video trainings that are there to help protect kids, because Power Over Predators, we aim for a world where kids discover their worth, can find their voice, and then take some pretty bold steps to protect themselves and then to ultimately advocate and protect their peers. It's also an opportunity for parents and communities to be equipped so that they can protect the kids in their community. I mean, it's our future. We've got to protect these kids. So we are completely about ending exploitation of our kids by equipping them with that life-saving information, because I want them to achieve their goals and dreams. Who doesn't want that for their kids? So please, thank you to Power Over Predators for being a sponsor to the Why So Curious podcast.
And how can we find more information on Power Over Predators?
Go to poweroverpredators.org. You can follow us on social media. You can, our website is a wealth of information for you.
We'll see you there.
Thanks, everybody. Okay, everybody, I want to tell you about another one of our sponsors, which is called MACE, and that stands for Mothers Against Child Exploitation. You can be a man against child exploitation. You can be a marsupial against child exploitation. I don't care who you are. What we are looking for, this is a volunteer group. It's a grassroots group of people where the goal is to get 1 million moms to sign up for $12 a year so that seriously we can save the world. Do you know what I can do with that money? I will save so many babies with that money. And so if you're passionate about protecting kids, I need you in the ring, okay? We need some mother fighters right now to help protect our kids because the numbers are ridiculously scary, and I'm not gonna go into that right now. But I just wanna say thank you to Mace for being a sponsor to the Why So Curious podcast. So if you're curious how to join and become a mother fighter like Liz and I, just head to poweroverpredators.org, hit the Mace link, and all the information that you need is right there. Got any other questions for me?
I think you nailed it.
All right.
Thanks,
everybody. So welcome back, everybody. We are going to kind of land the plane with our time together where I, just on a personal note, I've been doing prevention education for almost 25 years now. It's something that I'm just super passionate about. And it's a pretty lonely place to be. So whenever I find somebody who's on board, I'm like, you're my people. And so, we used to really focus, our target audience used to be schools where I was just really trying to, okay, it's our kid's secondary home basically, so I want to make sure that every kid has access to this information if I can't get through to parents. And, we're competing against a big world of marketers and all sorts of different platforms that have attention. And so it's just like our little place here that we have has made a really big impact, but I completely switched my target audience from schools to moms. Mm-hmm. And, because like I shared earlier, like as a mom, I kind of felt guilty because I thought if other moms knew what their kids were going through and they're confiding in me and not in them, I kind of felt bad. Like I was the mom that was getting all of the conversations that I knew other moms wished that they were having with their kids, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, I'm changing my whole tactic to empowering and equipping moms. Like I know that there are some serious mama bears out there who will do whatever they can to protect their children. And so when Mace popped into my head, I just loved the fact that it's a tangible spray that can get rid of a predator, mm-hmm. but at the same time, it can be a mom against child exploitation, right? Yeah. And so when I kind of sprung the idea on you on the phone one day, you're like, okay, when are you going to get this going? Mm-hmm. Because it kind of got us excited about a whole new approach that isn't going to be overwhelming. Right. That for every mom or every dad or every person who loves kids and wants to protect kids, because just so you guys know, the mission is to preserve and protect innocence, our children. They are the future and they are worth fighting for. So when a school is given the opportunity to present this curriculum, the feedback and the pushback that I get is what the fried chicken. Like, yes. Are you joking? Are you telling me that if you saw a child drowning in shark-infested waters, which, by the way, they are on the internet, right? Mm-hmm. You wouldn't throw them a life preserver? You'd walk by and go, I don't have time. I don't want to look at that. That child doesn't matter.
Or we're too busy.
We're too busy.
There's too many things. There's too many requirements.
We're an A+ school and we got to maintain that mm-hmm. A+ status. Or we just don't have the funding and we don't have the time. And I'm like, tell that to a kid who's drowning in shark-infested waters. Yep. And that comes off a little abrasive. And people are like, I don't like you. Go away from me.
It's so true.
It's like,
It is so true.
And
It definitely takes tact.
it sure does.
It takes a certain amount of tact and consistency.
Yes, okay, but my question to all of you mother fighters is, are you okay with that? Does that answer suffice? Like, is that when you give up? No, that's why we have MACE. And so, girl, you have been my number one MACE mama. Oh my gosh.
Well, I love it. I felt like when you told me about it, like, this is the thing. This is it. This is what, like, it's all been building up to. We've been trying to come up with these solutions to, like, so many problems. And I feel like MACE answered the question for so many people of how can I get involved? How do we raise the funds to do what we need to do? This is it. It's so easy. Everybody can do it. Everybody can be involved. And I'll share with you really quickly, like, how I have began this journey in my own hometown. And it is just the beginning of the journey, but it's been really beautiful to watch unfold. And I'll just say, something that I've been living by is, like, whenever 1 Corinthians 13 talks about love is kind, love is patient. That love is a verb. It's love in action.
Exactly.
Right? And that's what Jesus did when he went to the cross. It was love in action. He didn't just say, like, oh, I love you. No, he actually did something about it. And so that's what I encourage everybody to live love out, live it in action. And through MACE, like, I feel like this is such a good opportunity for people to get plugged in a very, very simple, easy way. And so I do want to say, Lisa is saying moms, but I'm going to venture to say that this is not just for moms.
Right.
This is actually a multi-generational thing. No matter what age you are, no matter what gender you are, no matter what race you are, you can get involved in this. And really, for us to beat this epidemic, it's going to take everybody to get involved and be a part of it and make sure that our kids are getting the education that they need. Right. And it's not just coming from their abusers. And so what MACE is so exciting. We're looking to nationally have 1 million moms or any gender or any generation join.
Remember?
Yes. we want everybody to join. And when we get to that goal of having 1 million join, we are asking for each one of those people to give $1 a month. That's $12 a year. This is, like, so amazing because college students can give $1 a year. You know, it's a sacrifice of 2 Starbucks a year. Right. And, like, in our economy, it just seems like everybody can do that. And so it's such an awesome opportunity to get involved and see these things happen. Whenever you commit your $1 a month, $12 a year, that creates a revenue of about $12 million for MACE per year. And I cannot wait to tell you guys what that money is for because it's so exciting. We have given POP to schools. We've set up sponsorships to where the schools get POP for free. And guess what happens? They don't use it. They just don't use it. And so I know that Lisa has spent, I don't know how many hours, how many countless, like, sleepless nights trying to think of how can we get this in our schools? How can we get them to use it when we give it to them? Well, we're going to pay them an incentive, a really nice incentive. It's going to be $10,000 a year for a 5-year commitment to this program. And what will schools do anything for? Money. Yeah, it's like the best, most genius idea I've ever heard of. And I'm so excited about that because I think this is really the key to getting it into our schools, especially in Arizona.
Yeah, right.
Where we don't have a law for an hour of prevention education per year. Right. So I think in Arizona, especially in some of the other states that don't already have that law, but even in states that do have the law, they're looking for this curriculum. And if they can find a curriculum that's going to pay them an incentive to use it,
right.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so can I tell them what that's actually called?
Yes.
It's called the Prevention Proves Positive Project. And so what we are looking for is a school that's willing to commit to do a 5-year project by implementing Power Over Predators. It's really easy. It's not overwhelming. It's not time consuming. You can do it for bell work. I mean, it's so simple. And we've got it all figured out for you. But the key is you have to run the program, and then you turn in your data. And let me tell you why we want to do this. Because what we want to see is not just pop in schools.
Your numbers, no.
What we want to see is a reduction in bullying on campus, a reduction in sextortion and sexting on campus, healthy relationships being developed, kids being able to focus and function and actually achieve their educational goals, less calls to crisis. I mean, talk to your school counselors. They cannot keep up with what's going on with our kids in crisis right now. And so we want to see, and what we really want to see is an increase of kids coming forward, getting the help that they need.
Dialogue.
So it's a 5-year project, $10,000 a year. But if we have 1 million people signed up for $1 a month, $12 a year, that's a cakewalk. We can do this. And so we just want you guys to get excited about it. And again, you don't have to go present the curriculum. We're not asking you. We're like, can you just give $12 a year? So that we can get this program out there and that we can actually see a shift in the mental health crisis that our kids are in right now.
And the easiness of the presenting the program, thank you, COVID.
Right?
Yeah. It just kind of forced us into this, like, okay, we have to make this super easy and we have to make it online.
Right.
Where they can access it online. So something good came out of it.
Yeah.
So that's so good. Okay, so the next thing that we're looking to do with these funds is be able to provide aftercare for our victims. Like there's so many victims. I mean, when you think of the ocean and the waves rolling in, that's what it's like. There's victim after victim after victim. And they need aftercare. They need to go get professional trauma therapy to deal with what's going on with them, and learning that like the coping mechanisms that they learn in their survival mode are not necessary whenever you're not surviving anymore and you're thriving, and how to overcome, how to retrain your brain into those coping mechanisms that are ultimately like unhealthy. They're and they bring harm. Sometimes they actually result in self-harm and stuff like that. So we have partnered with Rancho Milagro for equine therapy, which is amazing, and we're just looking to like broaden those horizons and provide more and more aftercare for these babies that have these traumatic experiences when they're just so young and they don't know how to deal with them.
Right, and the key to our success in the aftercare is intentional relationships with safe adults that are just going to be doing life with these kids on the ranch. And Rancho Milagro has also committed to helping do trainings for anybody who wants to start something like that in their own community. Again, you do not have to overthink it. And maybe you don't have a ranch and maybe you don't have a horse, but there's people that are in your community that can provide a safe place for a child to be, because I know that you guys are going to think that I'm crazy, but the more psychiatrists that I talk to, what they say is where true healing begins is in healthy, safe relationships, not therapy. Okay, so we got to start with being healthy, safe people in relationship with each other, learning what kind of additional help might be really helpful for a child. I'm not poo-pooing therapy, and I'm not poo-pooing medication that helps somebody get to a place where they can think clearly again. That's a whole nother podcast. But the point is that this aftercare is truly about staying attuned and investing in these kids as they have come forward and are asking for help. And they don't know how to ask. We teach them how to ask. So that's key. Okay, sorry, I keep interrupting.
No, I wanted you to kind of go on about the therapy that we're wanting to get the kids into. In fact, Benson, we are just now starting to get things going to where we're going to have some equine therapy on a foster care ranch there.
Awesome.
And it's going to provide so many needs, not just for children, but even for like domestic violence victims, special needs. It's going to be really, really awesome. So I'm excited about that. And you know, whenever you pursue something like that, it doesn't take a whole lot of energy because other people will get on board with you.
Right.
And it's crazy to watch it unfold with very little energy that I've put forth. I've seen this as people stepping up to the plate, and here it comes now, all of a sudden. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, me
And
too.
I'm excited about Rancho Milagro. It's super awesome. Okay, so the final thing that we're wanting to do with these funds, which the sky is the limit, I'm not saying there's not going to be more someday, but this is what our goals are right now, is a program called Pop Rocketeers. And this is probably the most exciting to me because I'm in the schools and I'm talking to these kids. And whenever I always ask them a question, when do you wish you would have known this? I actually had a student this week say 4 years old. So that's exactly what Pop Rocketeers is.
Yeah.
It's an animated program meant for grades K through 5,
Yep,
4 or
K through
5.
5.
And this is so necessary and so needed. The schools desperately need a curriculum like this. Like, it's really unheard of. I don't think anything really exists like this. But it's expensive.
It is expensive.
But we are believing that this is the right path that we need to be on, and we're excited to get it going. So if you would like to be a part of that, please go to the website and join today. Give your $1 a month, and I promise you that we are going to be the best stewards of your donations,
Yeah.
and we are going to keep fighting for our kids, and we want to do it alongside you.
Yeah. Every dollar is going to go right back into the community. And what's so cool about MACE is that, you know, you're starting your own chapter. You've started
Right.
your own chapter
Yeah.
in Benson. So we have a MACE in Benson. Again, it's just like, if you have like-minded people in your community, you can start your own chapter, and you can start whatever it is that you want to do to make an impact in your community, in your kids' lives, in your schools, and all that great stuff. But the money goes right back into those 3 things that you talked about. It is not going into my salary. It is not going to administrative costs. It is going into kids that need this information, and families who need this information. The reason that we Pop Rocketeers, I'm so passionate about it, is because, you know, originally when I started in 2015 going into the schools in my community, I've been in schools a lot longer than that, what the age group that they were saying that they were having the most need to reach was 7th graders through high schoolers. Well, as the years have progressed, I'm getting calls from schools saying, okay, we have our 5th graders sending nudes. We need you to come talk to our kids. And now it's getting younger. And the average age where a child is exposed to pornography, even when they weren't looking for it, that's again another podcast, is 8 years old, right? And so, but the average age that our kids are now having a smart device in their hands is 6 years old, right? Yeah. And so again, there's no shame in that, but you need to know that predators are intentionally targeting those children's apps to gain access to the kids that you feel safe and secure, but man, they are sneaking stuff in that you just need to be aware of. And so this video series is designed, I kind of feel like if you loved Mr. Rogers as much as I did, that's the approach that I'm taking. We're going to have conversations about things that make people uncomfortable, but it can't be uncomfortable because it's happening to our kids, and they're already uncomfortable and they feel alone. And so this is going to be about 7 little superheroes who find the power within themselves because their parents imparted that power on them, and they're going to go out and they're going to advocate for their friends. And so that's what this little video series is going to be all about. So
it's going to be awesome.
I'm excited.
I'm so excited. And I know that like a handful of the kids that I'm been a part of their story here recently, middle school is too late.
They're telling you that. We have the handwritten proof. We should post that for like kids.
And that
saying,
was the seniors.
Yeah.
That was seniors. But I'm even talking about like stories of abuse where I'm in this kid's life and we're dealing with this abuse. Middle school was too late.
Yeah.
They needed to know before.
Yeah.
What the signs of a predator are, because you don't know them by the way they look.
Right.
You have to know them by the way they act. They needed to know that before middle school.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about Pop Rocketeers. I literally can't wait. Our school is ready. Our school is so ready for it. So when it comes out, like, we will be the guinea pigs.
Yeah,
it's
I love
fine. But yeah, I want you guys to know, like, whenever you go present this to somebody, it's very easy. We have all the information, like we have flyers available to help you kind of give the information to somebody, but you will be shocked at the response that you receive. Like, I can't believe the response that I get every time. I made it a goal to go visit a new church every single month, and every time I go, I can't believe the response that I get and the feedback, and then the follow-up. Like, Benson is starting their new MACE chapter, and our first meeting is coming up in 2 weeks. And I've had so many people reach out to me about the meetings. Can I bring a friend? Because I tell them, like, you don't need to give your friend the spiel. I'll do it. I will do it. Like, I'll do my thing. Just bring them to the meeting. It's going to be like not a very long meeting, 30, 45 minutes. But we do need mamas that are going to step up and say, hey, I'm going to start my own MACE chapter. You will be shocked at how it will flow through with the moms. Sometimes with the schools, it's kind of harder and you got to chip away. That's what I've had to do for the last few years. But with the moms and grandparents and even dads and even older like siblings, it is so easy to get people involved in this because it is so necessary. And they've been looking.
Yeah.
People have been searching for a way to address these things.
Yeah.
So MACE, I feel like, is definitely the answer to the question of how can I get involved? And I get that question all the time. And then obviously one of our biggest asks is please pray for this movement. Like, cover it in prayer, because there are attacks and there are speed bumps constantly. Yep. But man, pray for it. That's so powerful. And we appreciate that.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
then let us know. You can contact us.
Yep.
Let us know how we can help. I'm here to support anybody in any community nearby. Like, I'll travel and I'll help you. So just let me know.
Yeah, now you can see why I asked her to be on today. And she'll be back. We have multiple conversations, things to talk about. But so if you want to reach out to us, you can go to podcastwhysocurious@gmail.com and go to poweroverpredators.org if you want to join MACE. Just hit the join button. It'll take you 2 minutes, I promise. And we aren't asking anything of you, but just to join and spread awareness. And the way you spread awareness is by watching this podcast and sharing. The way you spread awareness is by following us on social media and just sharing. Even if you don't take the time to read the post, just share it, right?
Yeah.
Get the information out there. We don't know what we don't know. And we're, like Brianna said, we're all looking for something, but we're having a hard time finding it. So we're just hoping that this grassroots effort is going to take off and people are going to get educated and people are going to get passionate about protecting their kids.
Yep.
So that's what we're all about. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
So happy to be here.
She's one of my favorite mother fighters. All right, everybody, thanks so much. Again, feel free to reach out. Tell us your stories. We love hearing from you. I really do appreciate those of you who have and shared just how this has helped you. So we appreciate you, and we will see you for Thoughtful Thursdays. Bye.
Bye.